Right, let's take it up a notch, as they do every Tuesday. Joining me now are two of Australia's foremost intellectuals, former Deputy Prime Minister John Anderson and columnist for The Australian, Dr Jennifer Oriel. Well, welcome to you both. Great to have you both here on the program once again. John, I want to come to you in two parts. We've had a big debate today about a 35% increase in our power prices. Just wait till they get into transport and agriculture when they get away just from electricity. But you're on the land. Today the CSIRO comes out, they put $90 million of our dollars on the table. They reckon they can come up with a miracle pill to help reduce the methane emissions from cattle. What do you think about all of this and the state of play with our emissions obsession putting at risk our electricity supply?
Well, on the electricity one, it's good to see the Treasurer, I think now, unless I've mistaken it, he's actually come clean and said the price of moving to net zero will be higher electricity power prices. At least there's an admission there. And it'll be very serious, in my view. Go and have a look at what's happened to Britain and in California if you want to see what this will mean. It will mean the loss of manufacturing. It will mean the hollowing out of the middle classes and more people in lower income brackets, more dependent than ever on government. I'm sorry, that is the reality if we push this too far with the technologies that we have at the moment. In relation to agriculture, I want to say that one of the things that's not understood about agriculture is that we are recyclers. When I say we, I have a farm business, of course. We don't just emit it. We absorb it. We produce food and fibre with it. We emit it back into the atmosphere, but we can pull CO2 out of the air. In fact, there is a happy coincidence here, if we could only get real, between a good science, good agriculture, and, as it happens, absorbing CO2 out of the air. It's about pasture management. It's about genetics. It's about new technologies. I've never believed that the problem of cow emissions is going to be difficult to overcome. The bigger one, frankly, is ammonia, because the four big emitters are, as you rightly say, it's not just electricity, it's steel, it's coal, it's cement, and it's ammonia. And without ammonia, we simply cannot feed anything like today's global population.
Well, let's stay broadly with the economic theme. Jennifer, the Treasurer's message today, pretty dire in terms of the global economic climate. He picked up a warning from the International Monetary Fund that says we are headed towards a recession. Have a listen.
Prospects for a recession in some of the major economies of the world has edged over from possible to probable, and that has obvious implications for us. This one is an inflation shock, and the risk here is a hard landing around the world.
Of course, it is a political tactic. The more it's someone else's fault, the less likely voters are going to blame you. We can see that there from the Treasurer. But Jennifer, you wrote brilliantly about this in The Australian. Inflation, you say, is more than a money problem.
Yes, inflation is a very big social problem, and it's usually caused primarily by government overspending over long periods from both sides of government. And we really need to look at, I think, especially in the Labor Party room and Labor caucus, where there's a premium on issues broadly termed social justice, how much inflation leads to great problems within households, within poverty, stricken areas, within vulnerable communities. We need to look at how it dashes the aspirations of young people. We can do that for 10, 20 years. How it makes aged care much more difficult, how it makes food poverty very real, how it can have a great impact on social services very broadly. And so I think Labor really needs to take seriously this problem and think about it as more than a money issue, because it's much more about conversations on the Reserve Bank. It's really about the broad social impact of inflation. And that's the conversation, that's the kind of national conversation we need to have. And I think the conversation that Jim Chalmers needs to bring back to the country after his overseas trip, because Australians need to understand that the government will not have as much money, and there is a really good social reason, a social justice reason for us saying we need to spend less and save more individually and at the government level.
Amen.
Let's go to the issue of sort of corporate governance, because one of the things that has astounded me, John, the Corporations Act very clearly says the job of a company is to return profit to its shareholders. That's their highest duty, but now they're becoming a bit like Jennifer talks about there, these social justice, ESG warriors, all things to all people. We know in the case of AGL, they've got an activist shareholder in Mike Cannon-Brookes. He has brought forward the closure of big coal-fired power stations. But today we learn he also wants to force 3 of his members from his private investment vehicle, 3 members of what's called Grok Ventures, onto the board of AGL. The new AGL chairwoman, her name's Patricia McKenzie, she's pushing back. She says these candidates from Cannon-Brookes are poor and it's critical that they are not appointed. This is activism. This changes the dynamic of capitalism, John. How concerned should we be?
Very. We should be deeply concerned. You're seeing the emergence of a new clerisy. Let me put it simply this way. I believe we want the best possible business brains in this country generating the best possible profits in the most ethical way possible. When it comes to social policy and the direction in which our community goes, it's imperative we have the best possible people attracted into public life, into our parliaments, where they are accountable to the people, and the people have control over the direction of our society, and that's based on their beliefs and their values. That's the way to keep government properly downstream of society.
Jennifer?
Yeah, in a democracy, the citizen controls the state, not the reverse, and the citizen has no chance of input into AGL's decisions, and yet those decisions have an incredibly large impact on the day-to-day life and our ability to meet our basic power needs within homes and businesses. So I think they really need to be responsible at AGL and consider that we don't have any right of recourse to them. They have an awful lot of power and they need to use it wisely.
It feels like the world's upside down in many respects, right across the board. John Anderson, Jennifer Oriel, thank you as always.